this is Rochelle with the Healing Rose, and today I'm doing a little side-by-side comparison between the two versions of the Moonchild Tarot, the original and the new Shadow Work edition. So they come in basically the same box. It's the same box design. There's not much difference except for, of course, some pictures on the back. They are both written and illustrated by Danielle Noel, who has also put out the Starchild Tarot with its several versions, and the Starchild Akashic, which I have and you've probably seen in a few videos. So I got this and I was looking through and I thought, you know, it's interesting. I definitely feel like there's some difference between the two decks, and it's hard to say when you're first looking at it, right? So I thought I wanted to do a side-by-side for myself, so I might as well film it. So in the box, of course, we have our beautiful Hathor, and this one says bloom in light, bloom in shadow, and it has this really beautiful iridescent sheen inside. The guidebooks are pretty much the same except for the covers. The content is not that different. It's the same layout for between one card and the next. So there's not a lot of difference there. They're solid, good, consistent guidebooks that she produces. Okay, let's that there and that there so we don't lose them. Okay, so let's take a look. So of course there is a different little message on the inside of each box. Okay, so let's take a look at our gilding. So we have this stunning amethyst, pale aubergine gilding on the new version, and a beautiful matte gold on the original. All right, let's get these here. Okay, so there's not a lot of difference image-wise. I think with both of these, what's happened is the images have just been softened. The cardstock is identical cardstock. I'm not feeling a major difference. Well, I think this one is actually a little bit, yeah, this actually is a little bit stiffer cardstock. This is a little bit softer. It's not quite, it still has a lot of bounce back. I almost wonder if it's a slightly, I mean, yeah, it's just a little bit softer. Okay, so we have the Fool. All right, the Magician. So these are two very different cards. Let's just plunk these a little closer. All right, Magician. High Priestess. I love this original High Priestess. Love it. Interesting because so much of this deck is actually, the cards are a lot darker, that this card is actually the brighter card. But I love this Empress. Like, those Empress vibes are intense. I love the new Emperor. I love all like the mossy green. All right, Hierophant. So it's like, it's muted, it's softened, everything's just a little bit lighter. Slight shift in tone in color palette. But I feel like we didn't necessarily have to take out the vibrancy. But, you know, I'm not the creator, I'm just the one using the deck. I do love this new strength. I love the original Hermit though, I have to say. So it's just kind of this, a brown, almost sepia tone that's been added onto the cards. So some of them, the cards are basically identical. We're just looking at a shift in the color palette. There's a lightning here. as opposed to like that dark charcoal. We're shifting more into the brown tone, kind of a brown gray. All right, let's Temperance. It's two very different cards for Temperance. They kind of give off a really different feeling. This one feels like it's a lot about balance, and this one is kind of like, I don't know. It has a very different mood. Beautiful card. I feel like there's a lot of influence from having done that Ocean Dreams Oracle. I feel like a lot of that ocean vibe has crept into the new shadow work version of the Moonchild. So the Devil or the Dark Veil. I do really like this Dark Veil. So in the original, I don't usually leave the Devil card in. I usually switch it up for that shadow work card, which is an extra card, just because I like the palette, the color tones of that card more. So I usually swap those two out. All right, the Star. I do love this. I'm kind of sad that a lot of that blue got taken out. It's an interesting choice, what's happened here with the Sun. All right, Judgment. It's very different. The Universe is very, very different. I do like this one, though. I mean, it's a beautiful deck. Interesting choice here, what's happening with that Ace of Cups. The color palette shift. Why are my cards sticking together? Maybe it's just me. Maybe because I'm not left-handed, this left hand is just not wanting to work for me. All right. So I feel like there is quite a lot of shift happening. Like definitely very different cards for the first 3 cups. Okay, and then the 5 of Cups. Very different cards. And the 6. Yeah, she changed a lot of this suit. So we've got our 7 of Cups. There we go, 8 of Cups. Interesting. Yeah, it's definitely a lot of changes for this suit. You know, I feel slightly disappointed that she didn't do something different with, I mean, when you look at this progression, right? The Page to the Knight, and then the Queen is like, I don't know. I feel like her Kings and Queens could have been doing something or being something, or we could have had more to those cards. I mean, they're still just court cards. Court cards aren't always that exciting, but you know, there's so much background, there's so much symbolism happening in the other cards within the deck that it's kind of like, why didn't we get a little something with those Kings and Queens? Okay, so these are quite different. So we've just added a different background in here on that 7. Not even much color shift between these two. If you don't look at this little bottom bit, they're very, very much the same. And which, I mean, I love that card, so I'm kind of happy with that. I love that little purple that's been added here. I'm loving the new 10 of Swords. All right, so we've got that Page, which has been brightened up a bit. The Knight, which has interestingly enough, been sort of softened. I like how the background has shifted a bit. Okay, and then we just, well, I mean, we've added some flowers there, but what does that tell us about the Queen of Swords? All right, our aces. All right, so not as much change with the pentacles. This is very interesting. This is such an interesting choice here for the Seven of Pentacles. Like, yeah. There's our 8. I mean, I definitely feel like I prefer this image. I'm not sure what this is. Like, symbolically, when you look at it, like, it just, I don't know. It doesn't resonate as much for me. But then this is my favorite deck ever. So I'm obviously going to have preferences. I do like this light mist in here. That's quite interesting. Okay, so our pages are quite different. The knights are not. Queen's just looking the other way now. I mean, I kind of like that they're now forward facing. And I mean, maybe it's just because, you know, for if you are, you know, reading and writing and speaking English, this is always a forward progression. That's always kind of looking back. I mean, it's, you know, if you're from another language tradition, it might feel differently for you, but 2 of Wands. This is so fascinating to me. I mean, it's very different. It doesn't necessarily evoke the same sort of sense of, you know, depth of card meaning for me, but very interesting image. Okay, so 3 of Wands. I mean, this kind of gives you that sort of more that rider weight. It's like, but where's the ship? There is no ship in sight. What's coming in? What are we doing? Let's survey our possibilities. This 4 of Wands, I do like this. I do like the new 4 of Wands. Interesting. Yeah, I think I'll have to go into the guidebook because I'm not sure what's happening with this. I mean, it's interesting to look at. I like that it's kind of like the water moon there, but okay. I do like this 7 of Wands, but I love this one. Yeah, interesting. 8. I don't know. I think I like this more. I love this image, but I mean, I don't know. I think it's just this is my favorite. So, although 9 of Wands, dog. Stop with the scratching. Nothing but dogs around here. And I'm dog sitting right now, so I've got extra dog in the house. So that's a whole new level of chaos. All right. I do like this Page of Wands. This knight is very interesting. I don't know. I love the vibrancy of this one, but I love the color palette in here too, so that's hard to say. And the king, not much for change there. I mean, the kings and queens aren't super interesting in these decks, but Divine Wisdom. All right. So there's a little shift there in the cards. Then we have Moonchild. I feel like there was so much influence that happened from her doing that Ocean Dreams Oracle that it's definitely shifted that, like, there's so much water that's been brought into this deck. But I do like that desert Egyptian vibe that is so intense in the original. All right, so shadow work. So interesting. Yeah, so in this deck, normally what I do is I take out the devil card and I replace it with the shadow work, because I just feel like this color palette is working so much better than this. So that's usually what happens with this deck. And then these ones just hang out in the box. So we're just going to do that right now so that my deck is back and ready to go. All right. Whereas in this one, I feel like this dark veil is so interesting. The shadow work is really interesting. I might put both of them in here, because this is like, you know, this is our death. It's new beginnings. Whereas this is like saying, like, you got to look at what your stuff is. But this kind of, you know, or not death. Why did I say death? Your devil card, right? So it's kind of like, I don't know if I want to keep both or not. I'm loving this Moonchild though. I might toss the Moonchild card in here. Let's see what she says about it, actually. Let's see if it will add to the deck, if it's included. Yeah, I mean, I like that there are the 3 extra cards, and we kept both, in both decks, she kept the same 3 extra cards. All right. So drifting beneath the crescent of the moon, a Moonchild rests in quiet contemplation, feeling the transition of the phases of this great celestial body. Always in her orbit, pulling at her emotions and pushing her in creative directions, she knows she is deeply in tune with its shimmering light. So the inquiry, how can I connect with the moon and the cosmos? What moon phase am I currently in at this time? I speak with the moon and she speaks with me. Are there any energies that need to be released? Is it time to start a new project? What is internally or externally inhibiting you from rising, growing, or healing? How are you delaying your own productivity? Interesting. I wonder. Well, I'm going to contemplate that. All right. So let's see. So this cardstock is definitely a little bit more flexible than this one. So I think that's like the major difference, is how this one definitely wants to bend more than this one. This is a stiffer cardstock. It's definitely has more bounce back. Let's see what our shuffle's like. Whoop. And of course, this deck has not yet been shuffled. So first week of shuffling a new deck, the edges are still very crisp from production, and it takes a bit for them to want to soften in. It doesn't feel like it wants to fight at all. And this one is well shuffled, well used, so it slides very well. This is a very kind of matte finish, and this is a very smooth finish. So this one has a bit more texture to it. So I think the cards grip each other a little bit more. This one is very, very, very smooth. This one, I think you can even hear it. Right? That one feels like that. And this one is much quieter. So it's just a little bit, has a little bit more slip to it, which I do kind of feel when I'm pushing the cards together. I have to push a little more. I think that will give up in time. Yeah, I think it will. I think it will go in time. I think it's just the nature of having that finish. It's got a bit more. It's got a bit more texture. It's got a bit more grab than this one. This is definitely a much smoother finish. So, all right. So I hope that you have enjoyed this little walkthrough comparison of these two, and I hope that it actually helps you in making a decision as to which one resonates with you more or which one you would prefer to have in your collection. They're both absolutely stunning decks. For me, it's very interesting to see the changes that she has made to the decks. I do love this color. Oh, it's stunning. I love the edges. I'm getting so distracted looking at it. That's funny. Totally lose my train of thought when there's a nice shiny deck in front of me. So yeah, I think, you know, even the more I shuffle it right now, the smoother it's beginning to glide. So I think it's just that new deck stiffness that needs to wear out of it that will make it more beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. It's lovely. I am really appreciating some of the new imagery in here. It'll be interesting to see how different, if it reads any differently than this one. So that's going to be interesting for me. All right, so I hope that you have enjoyed this little journey with me, and that it helps you in your consideration with which deck you might choose to purchase for yourself, because they're both lovely. And you know, it's hard to say. It really is really challenging to say which one is the one to choose, right? What a choice to have to make. Crazy. All right. So I hope that you have a wonderful day. Take care.